I don't enjoy doing this.
Then don't. It's not a big deal.
I was put in charge of the store until you got here, which you did 3 minutes late. I have to report it.
Hey, be careful what you do with that. I'm still above you on the org chart.
Oh, the org chart? You know what? I am going to enjoy this.
Welcome to Rewind Video. I'm Bob.
I'm Rob.
And we love movies. Good ones, bad ones, old ones, new ones, pleasurable watches, miserable movies, and everything in between.
We love miserable movies.
Yeah, miserable movies. That's why we have the staff recommendation shelf.
You usually bring a miserable movie to the shelf.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to happen tonight. Well, listen. Rewind Video. Definitely how I keep the lights on at home. It is a job we work here. Mm-hmm. But I'd be lying if I told you that there weren't parts of this gig that didn't give me a certain amount of pleasure.
Kicking people out.
Yeah.
Canceling people's memberships.
Late fees.
Yes.
On top of late fees. There's stuff like browsing customers' rental histories. Love that. Erecting new cardboard cutouts when HQ sends us something for a new release.
Yeah.
I also get a certain satisfaction out of making it real awkward for the high schoolers who come in here with the sole intention of renting some B movies that are essentially like softcore porn.
You're that guy.
I'm that guy.
Oh,
yeah. But of course, there's also our beloved staff recommendation shelf. That's a source of pleasure for me as well. You and I are in charge of keeping the shelf stocked with movies that are deserving of our customers' attention. Each time we update the films on the shelf, we adhere to a theme. And no surprise, this week's theme is pleasure.
We are here for your gratification.
Yes.
To your customers.
This one challenged me a little bit because I started thinking about movies and I was like, well, that's more a movie about a person's passion than it is something that gives them pleasure, although maybe they have some pleasure. I got twisted and turned and maybe fell victim to overthinking things.
You just went full carnal pleasure.
I did.
Yeah. What you did.
I did. I just decided, well, let's pick 3 movies where pleasure comes in the form of sex.
I didn't quite go 100% in that direction, but it's kind of where we ended up with a lot of this.
Yeah.
I guess like there's certain, I don't know if there's a lot of like pleasure depicted in movies
right.
that doesn't involve sex or drugs or like music or something.
Agree. Yeah. And
usually all of those.
Right. Yeah. And plus we don't often talk very specifically about sex on this show.
That's by design.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Not that type of podcast.
Nobody's tuning in for that.
But yeah, it's going to be a little different this evening. I'm excited to see where the discussion takes us.
I don't think we're going to talk about just that. We're going to talk about, there's a lot more going on in these movies than just the pleasure,
For sure. In fact, I can see us venturing into, I'm going to bite my tongue, and I just know that there is another topic that's going to come up more than once that I'm excited to broach with you.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Involving my movies or your movies?
Our movies.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't have much else to say other than all 3 of my movies are single word titles.
Ooh,
how about that?
Fancy you.
Well, let's get this pleasure train going and
don't do that.
and turn it over to you for our first pick.
Okay, I'm going to start us off weird, but it's going to get weirder, I think.
Oh yeah.
So my movie is from 1999. It is Eyes Wide Shut, directed by Stanley Kubrick.
I was so glad you picked this.
I'm glad you were glad.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it in a while, but like from beginning to end. But I had definitely seen it over the years.
For sure.
This is filed under Skull and Boobs.
Yes.
Here's the back of the box. After Dr. Bill Harford's wife, Alice, admits to having sexual fantasies about a man she met, Bill becomes obsessed with having a sexual encounter. He discovers an underground sexual group and attends one of their meetings and quickly discovers that he is in over his head.
Oh, boy. I mean, that technically is right, but also weirdly phrased.
Yeah, I mean, like, obsessed with having a sexual encounter, like, that's, I don't know, that's kind of assuming a lot, but I guess you could, like, get there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Meetings is bizarre.
Group and meetings are two words that just feel very out of place.
Sexual group. It's not. It's an underground sexual group.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is like. I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know that I would classify it as that. I guess you could get there too if you could make the argument.
It suggests that it's like a support group.
Yeah,
where these people are sitting in a circle and
underground sexual group. He goes to one of their meetings.
That's not what's
bizarre.
happening.
It's a bizarre back of the box tagline. Not really a tagline. Cruise, Kidman, Kubrick, which I guess is like kind of how they sold the movie. They're like, hey, it's them. They didn't really like. I remember the marketing didn't really tell you exactly what was going on. It gave the impression it was like a thriller.
It did,
or something. It's just it's hard to say what this movie really kind of is.
Yes, I'm going to tell you that it is, for me, my favorite Kubrick film.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an intense statement.
Yep.
To start us off with. So this is his final movie. It's about a New York doctor played by Tom Cruise who smokes a joint with his wife and then either gets himself mixed up in a high society secret sex party or has a psychological episode or dream or all of these things.
Yeah.
So Cruise and Kidman, they were a real-life married couple at the time, and this has the distinction for being the longest continuous film shoot of all time.
Oh, wow.
Probably not the best combination of things there. But, yeah, they shot 400 shooting days in, it was over 15 months.
Holy shit.
So it was like, they were there full-time, like I guess taking weekends off for like 6 days a week or whatever for over a year, 15 months, which is just fucking insane.
Yes.
So this had kind of mixed reactions when it came out. It's you know, it's definitely like a huge artistic statement. It's trying a lot of things. It's kind of slowly become recognized as a classic of sorts, but I don't know if it's necessarily considered Kubrick's best overall.
Not by most.
Not by most.
Right, yeah.
But so there's this big shindig at the mansion that's the centerpiece of this movie, and it is a pleasure fest.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's there for the pleasure. The house is a pleasure palace, or I guess the mansion is a pleasure palace.
Yes.
When it's going on. The people who are at this party are wealthy, right? And they're like wealthy.
Yeah, like uber super duper wealthy.
Like we watch this movie and Tom Cruise is like, I'm a doctor. Look at my giant New York apartment, right?
Yeah.
And it's fun. When, like, we look at that apartment, we're like, holy fuck, this guy is loaded.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise, like, when he goes to this party, he's like the loser poor guy.
He's the peasant.
Yeah, he's the peasant. He's got a $10 million New York apartment.
Yeah.
So like these guys are wealthy and they're used to getting everything they want. And like sometimes it's hard for those guys to like find pleasure in things, you know?
Yeah.
And so they have to get kind of extreme with it. They have to get weird with it. And so sometimes they got to go to an Eyes Wide Shut party, right? Which is what we call that now.
Yeah.
That's what that is in the culture, which was like, it was always an idea that was kind of out there. Like we always had an idea like, oh man, like I bet you they have like these crazy things. And like we all knew Skull and Bones existed and stuff. But it was never like fully formed until this movie like put it out there.
Yeah.
I like really doubt that they exist in any real way like this.
So you haven't been to one of these?
Of course not.
Neither have I.
I don't know, like, you know, the Rewind Video membership is very exclusive.
It is.
So
it
that's
is.
all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
So there's like all this artifice and ceremony on this.
Yeah.
And it's really just like a cover for all this like bacchanalia that's going on in the back. Which makes it like very interesting and dangerous, which I can see why like how these guys like might need something like that. But like I don't know, like do people want to deal with all this shit with like the robes and the masks and the passwords and the
I mean,
it doesn't matter how rich you are, like do you really want to go through all this bullshit?
probably not, but at the same time I could see them all just like patting themselves on the back for how much like just pomp and circumstance they've created and yeah, who knows.
I don't know, it just seems like way too much, and it's like plus it's like it's so serious that it seems like a goof.
Right.
And like
yeah.
I can understand, like I don't know, like I can see like if you're like really like one of these super loaded guys, I can see like, yeah, we're going to have this like Coke party and a bunch of prostitutes are going to show up and it's going to get wild. We're going to get like just a bunch of porn stars or whatever. Like I can see like wild shit like that, but I don't know, like why the passwords? Like why can't you just be like, this is who's invited? Like I don't know, like what are the masks for? I don't know. I don't quite get it. Like I think like I think of something like Succession where like the underground rich people parties are like there's something like they're just kind of like really nice nightclubs where anything goes. No one's there's no repercussions for behaving badly or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you're just allowed to do whatever you want and there's just drugs everywhere. But like there's not like robes and masks and secret passwords and names. Like obviously rich people are up to bad shit. Like P. Diddy's parties and stuff. But there were no masks. Like there were no like costumes. There was none of this stuff. But I guess it's like kind of a romantic idea to think that like this is happening. So I don't know. What are your thoughts about like did all of this actually happen? Is this kind of a dream?
Yeah, that's the central question surrounding this movie. Is it real? And I mean, my interpretation of it is, yes, this happened. It's weird as fuck. But, it definitely all took place. Although, I mean, most of this movie happens over the course of one night. And it is a lot to have. There's a lot going on in this one evening.
There's a lot going on. And plus, like, New York is so fake.
Yeah.
Right. But also, like, it wasn't New York. It was shot in England. So like, does it look fake because it's supposed to look like a dream, or does it look fake because it is fake? I don't know, but that adds to part of it. It's just like it just doesn't seem right. This seems off. Why is this guy showing his doctor's ID to everybody? Nobody does. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Literally everybody.
Yeah.
He flips that thing out like
I don't know. It's just bizarre. I mean, there's so much about this that's bizarre beyond like just like the sex party. You're like, how is this really? So I don't know. So, but like, and on one hand, it's like, it's this deep exploration into human desire and temptation and all these things. But on the other hand, it's like, it's also just like this big, long joke with a punchline at the end. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think after all these years and seeing it several times, and it's been out for 26 years now at this point, it's like, I don't really quite get what's going on in the movie.
Yeah, there's something kind of like flirts with like Lynchian in a way that it unfolds. Especially some of the mysteries surrounding this party and the I don't know, they're suggesting that he's being watched and like all that stuff, which I really liked.
But it's also just rich guys doing rich guy stuff.
Yeah.
But,
I like that this is kind of just throwing the idea of marriage under the train, and like it tests it and the concept. I don't know. I feel like there's a statement being made here.
There's a statement.
Yeah,
I think this is, as much as anything, it was a way for Kubrick to fuck with Cruise and Kidman as much as he pushed it as far as he possibly could.
Yeah.
And he's like notorious for doing a lot of takes, right? Like he's never really held actors in high regard. And I think it was him that said, the reason I do so many takes is because, the first couple dozen times the actors insist on acting. And so I'm just like trying to wear them down and make them so tired and exhausted that they just give up and they just give me like something real. Right.
Right.
So like, I think he was just like, and plus, so like Tom Cruise is probably the most powerful movie star persona that he had to break down of all time. Right. Like he's barely a person on the inside anymore, because, Right. And so like Kubrick is like, well, I'm just gonna like destroy this guy. Like he did 95 takes of Tom Cruise walking through a door.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And it's just like,
I love that.
Why? Because I'm gonna keep him here for 2 years with his wife, and I'm gonna break up this marriage, and I'm gonna, you know what I mean? And I feel like that was just part of the project of this movie, and you can kind of see it on screen. Like there's the part where Tom Cruise breaks down crying at the end.
Yeah.
Right. And it feels like that was Kubrick going like, I did it.
Yeah. I don't disagree. What I find funny is that for as many takes as Kubrick does, and for that phenomenon that you're describing where he wants to try to get through the acting, somehow everyone was satisfied with the believability of Kidman and Cruise acting high, because that is preposterous to me.
It was bad. Yeah.
It was so bad.
But there's so many scenes where people aren't acting like people would,
Yeah.
that it almost makes sense on that level, because it's like this all is just kind of, I don't know, everybody's play acting through it.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It's a bizarre movie, and I can't, like, I don't connect with it 100%. I really like it. I enjoy it a lot, but like, I don't know. It's like I can't crack it. It's a nut I can't crack.
Yeah, I can't say that I have. I really like that quality about this. And, even though I just poked fun at it, that scene where they're high and the discussion that they have, which is where Kidman's character reveals that she's, had this fantasy about this dude, that's an amazing scene. And, we're often just cutting back to Cruise looking at her while she's telling this story. And you can kind of see him change over the course of that scene. And man, I love it. This movie, even though I don't fully understand it, it just clicks with me. It's got a vibe to it,
Yeah, I get that. So Eyes Wide Shut, it's rated 4.0 overall on Letterboxd. 24,000 people have it in their 4 favorites. 30% agree with my 4-star rating, including Greg's 1999, who says, "So many tits." Which actually could have been the tagline.
So many tits.
That should have been the tagline. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I'm going to recommend it for the recommendation shelf this week for pleasure.
Well, I don't agree with your 4-star review. I have this 5.
I respect that.
And it just works for me. Now, we haven't spent much time talking about the fact that this movie is full of some absolutely gorgeous, stunning from top to bottom, breathtaking Christmas trees.
Yeah. Sorry. Very good Christmas trees. It does take place at Christmas.
Yeah. This is absolutely a Christmas movie for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on what your definition of a Christmas movie is.
Right. Yeah. Which we should talk about sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I defy you to play this at your next family Christmas, but that's,
Yeah, that's fair.
Everybody done with their dinner? Gather around. Uncle Bob is going to play you Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece.
Yep. Well, it's funny you mention that, because my first movie is plucked from the section of films that we direct people to when they're interested in something to watch with Dad.
Please don't.
The movie I have chosen is 2021's Pleasure.
Fits right in.
For the theme of pleasure. Pleasure, yeah. Let me give you the back of the box. 19-year-old Linnea leaves her small town in Sweden and heads for Los Angeles with the aim of becoming the world's next big porn star. But the road to her goal turns out to be bumpier than she imagined. All of my backs of the box are short tonight and sweet. I like that.
Ones.
Yeah. The tagline here, in the pursuit of fame, she discovers the price of pleasure. which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does it. So this is directed by a Swedish woman by the name of Ninja Thyberg.
So cool.
Yeah. And it is very much an unflinching look at the adult film industry through the lens of ambition and agency. This stars a woman named Sophia Kappel. It's her first ever role. She gives a pretty raw and committed performance that's kind of anchored in some unsettling realism.
I'd say so.
Yeah. I mean, this is not a glossy or sensationalized look at porn. It's grounded, matter of fact, often hard to watch. One thing I like is that Thyberg avoids moralizing or, trying to glamorize this industry. It's presented with some brutal honesty, which includes misogyny, a strange hierarchy, and this strange balance between performance and exploitation. So yeah, it's not. It's if you're the type of person that enjoys watching porn, I don't think you're going to get the same satisfaction out of watching this.
This was yeah. I mean, it's a graphic movie.
It is very graphic. It kind of takes the idea of pleasure and flips it on its head, drags it through the dirt, examines all its cracks, and shows how pleasure, especially sexual pleasure, is often commodified, coerced, carefully manufactured. The idea of this being a matter-of-fact look at porn, I think is very accurate. It's such just a business transaction and everyday routine for all of the people in this film. Most of them are actually in the porn industry. These are a lot of porn actors that play.
That's kind of what I figured based on what's in the movie. Asking regular actors to do this would have been very difficult. It made me think a lot of take all the graphic sex out of it.
Yeah,
it made me think of them as just like influencers.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever if you ever see or hear anything about influencer culture and the houses and everything, it just made me think of that. It just seemed like that.
Yes, totally agree. When you pull back the curtain and see the stuff that takes place behind the scenes of both influencer life and, in this case, porn stars, I think there's a lot of common ground there. This was originally a short film by the same director that she released in 2013. Like I said, Sophia Kappel had no acting experience. There was an extensive audition process. This was initially acquired by A24 out of the Sundance Film Festival, and A24 intended to release both a censored and uncensored cut. But Ninja Thyberg was not happy with the cut-down version, and A24 ultimately dropped it. Neon picked it up and only gave us the uncut version.
I imagine this is NC-17.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But despite being intensely graphic, film was made with a female intimacy coordinator and a crew that prioritized safety and consent throughout the production. So why did I choose this? I like that it is unafraid to show the extremes of the porn industry and doesn't flinch from discomfort. I thought Ninja Thyberg's direction was actually really controlled given what we're seeing and how what's taking place in a lot of these scenes. But ultimately, this just feels like a movie about ambition. If you replace the porn industry with any other career path, it's mostly just telling a story about a girl who's trying to climb the ladder and find success. But I think that it's pretty visually stunning, clinical, but and stylized, but not exploitative. And while it's hard to recommend to just anyone, I do think it's an important piece of art that dives into power, performance, and the psychological toll of seeking success in a world built on fantasy.
Yeah. I actually I love subculture movies, you know?
Yeah.
Like I love the behind the scenes stuff. I love like them hanging out at the house and like getting to like see how the business worked.
This kind of gives us a lot of what we were talking about in a previous episode where like in the strip club, you love to see like the dressing room and stuff like that.
Right, and how they talk about it and like
Yeah.
I don't know, just stuff that you don't see, and you get to see how people like go about their business in certain jobs and whatever. But like I don't know, man, like all the porn stuff in it is like almost all of it is like very unpleasant.
Oh yeah,
like,
especially one scene.
Yes, especially that. But like for me, like almost all of it was, you know? Like all of like none of I don't know. It just like I didn't like those parts of the movie, and I don't know. I'd be curious. Like I would be curious at this version of the movie where it's like not as much of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's
like I'm glad that there's like. I thought about it watching it. I was like, I'm glad there's a version of like Boogie Nights that looks at this industry from like I mean, obviously it's nothing like it was in Boogie Nights because that was like, 50 years ago it took place, right?
Yeah.
And it was about going from film to video. But like the video era is like fucking for eons ago at this point, right? So now it's just like now you're just TikTokers, influencers, but it's adult content, and it's just I don't know. It's just like I'm glad that this movie exists. I'm glad somebody made this movie about this culture, but like there's so much of it that was like unpleasant to watch. I don't think I'll go back to it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame anyone for feeling that way. And something that fascinates me about this is that it very much doesn't shy away from putting on display some of the more unusual kinks that people have when it comes to porn. And, like you see some of it. And at least in my case, I can't imagine finding some of this pleasurable to watch.
Right.
But sure enough, there's a population out there that loves it enough for it to be content. And it's just... It's a strange world we live in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, people. I mean, whatever you like, what you like, and then like we're gonna get into some of that that later. So like I don't want to like tell people what they're supposed to like and stuff, but like I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I just don't get.
No, yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. So this was not a successful movie. It made $393,000 on worldwide on a budget of $19 million. So
probably played like 3 theaters.
Yeah. I mean, right. It averages a letterbox rating of 3.4. I have this at 4 stars along with 23% of other users, and 623 folks have this on their list of 4 favorites. I did pluck a review from Cinema Void, which not exactly funny, but certainly poignant given the subject matter here. Cinema Void said, "We're really lucky that emotional scars are invisible. Otherwise, porn would be disgusting." Which, quite true. So, for pleasure, I'm putting pleasure on the shelf.
Okay, that's appropriate. An appropriate choice for you.
Fits the theme, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take us to the year 2000. The movie is Groove.
Oh, boy.
This is in the If You Dig Weed section of the store. Here's the back of the box, short and sweet. An inside look into one night in the San Francisco underground rave scene.
Accurate.
Tagline, "Are you feeling it?" Which I think I like it because it's like it's a double entendre, at least, feeling the groove. Are you feeling the drugs? Are you feeling the music?
It's true, but it also poses a question that I think would deter some folks from watching this unnecessarily. And what I'm getting at is that you might think that you need to be into rave culture in order to enjoy this, and you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
You don't. How would it? I mean, Yeah, I mean, like, what do you mean by into rave culture? Do you
Like,
think there's,
like
people
that's
who are
your
fans?
scene. Yeah. Like you go to raves and like when you're not going to raves, you just want to watch movies about them.
Yeah. I don't know that that's quite an actual scene, but like, I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah.
People are like, let's go to this rave and then watch a movie about it. I don't know that raves exist like they used to.
I don't know. Yeah.
So what is this? This is an independent, up all night hangout movie at a San Francisco warehouse dance party.
Yep.
And it's got a central character played by Hamish Linklater, who's like a rave newbie. He's never been. And he gets dragged there by his brother and his brother's girlfriend, who are veterans. They've been to a lot of these.
Yeah, they know the ropes.
They know all about it, which means they get to explain it to the audience. So most of the rest of the cast is like pretty unknown, except for Nick Offerman, who like pops in as a cop.
Right.
Looks exactly the same as he does now. And there's a little bit of drama in this, but there's like basically no plot. Mostly we're just spending our time in and around the rave, experiencing it from the inside.
Yeah. Some loose storylines that you're following.
Characters are doing stuff. Stuff happens at a party.
It almost has like a dazed and confused quality to
That's
it.
what I was gonna say. It's like Dazed and Confused at the dance party in Go, right?
Yes.
Which came out in '99, so a year before this. And I think this is like right around the time when the underground raves were like at their zenith. Like it was still kind of cool. It was still kind of underground. But like people were starting to find out about them. They were starting to be in movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's like so these kinds of things aren't really around, I don't think, at least like the way we think of them. Like the quote techno music, the sweaty dancing, the party drugs, chill rooms, the glow sticks,
right.
The sensual massages. Like I don't know if those exactly exist anymore, but like probably not in the same way. A lot of this has been absorbed by just like mainstream club culture. Like every casino in Vegas has an EDM dance club.
Oh, for sure. And I would also say festivals like Bonnaroo and Coachella and stuff.
100%.
Like
it used to be like, oh, you got to go to you got to know a guy to get an email from, and he sends you to a parking lot to get a map to a party, and then that's the place you can get Molly at.
Right.
And that's not the way it is anymore. There's like 15 music festivals, or you just go to a casino or a dance club or whatever. So how does this fit the theme? Rave culture is about stripping away everything in your life for one night.
Yep.
Except for pleasure.
Yes.
Right? It's kind of like the hippie thing back in the day where it was just like, this is what it's all about.
Totally agree. I think it's an apt comparison.
Yeah. Dancing, drugs, sex, loud music, partying until the sun comes up. That's all about pleasure,
Everybody's a stranger, but also a friend.
Yeah. The drugs. You're all kind of on the same trip.
Yeah.
Like on separate trips, but on different trips. But like the drugs you're taking are generally like pleasure drugs. You're taking Molly or ecstasy or stuff, things that make you want to like touch each other, or like LSD or mushrooms, whatever it is. And then when the pleasure gets too insane, you head to the chill room.
Yeah.
Which I think that's where I would have been spending most of my time.
Yeah.
That's more my scene.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good like music movie.
Yes.
It's got a great soundtrack of electric music of this specific time.
Some real DJs, I think.
Real DJs.
Yeah.
There's Orbital, John Digweed.
Yeah.
Who's in the movie. But I don't know, it gets the feel of a rave or like a festival lot. Like pretty spot on, I think.
Yeah. I as best as I can tell, I've never been to one of these.
I've been to a lot of music festivals.
Yeah.
And I get the vibe. I get the same kind of idea. I was never at one of these raves back in this time.
Right.
But it kind of feels like being at one of those parties.
Yeah.
It might be a little tame compared to reality, I think.
Maybe.
It seems like a little tame. It had a pretty small budget. And I think it mostly looks pretty good considering that like it didn't cost anything.
I agree.
Except I think they could have used some extra money for some extras.
Yeah.
Because like there's never more than like 20 people on screen at a time. Right. And like there's times getting towards the end of the movie where it's just like, man, it just doesn't seem like we're at this big party. Right. Like it's just like the same 20 people in different shots, and they did a fairly good job for most of it. But I don't know. I feel like if they had like an extra 50 people on set, this would have made a big difference.
Throw some crew in there, like some catering folks.
That was the crew. Oh, okay. That definitely was the crew. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you could just tell, like they got everybody they could and threw them in front of the camera. I just never seen like a big wild dance party. I also wouldn't have been disappointed in more time at the DJ table.
Yeah.
Just like see how they do the records. Cause like these guys were DJs. Yeah. And I guess, I don't know. I maybe they just couldn't figure out a way to make it work. But like, I don't know. This movie was only 86 minutes. They could have thrown in 3 or 4 more of the DJ doing his records.
Yeah. It's not often that you ask for more runtime, but I agree with you.
Yeah. So Groove, it's rated 3.5 overall on Letterboxd. 62 people have it in their 4 favorites. 22% agree with my 4-star rating, including Velvet Cowgirl, who says, man takes psychedelics for the first time and gains empathy for others. And yes, I'd like to have breakfast with you. Which is basically what happens at these parties.
Yeah.
You have that conversation over and over again.
Yep.
So I'm putting it up on the shelf this week for the topic of pleasure.
I have this at 3 stars, but I was pleasantly surprised because I knew this was like your first pick for this theme.
Yeah.
And knowing the subject matter, I thought to myself, this is a Robb movie, and I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. But I did. It is
a Robb movie.
It is a Robb movie, but at the same time, it's got something for us, other folk.
I hadn't seen this movie probably since shortly after it came out.
Oh, yeah?
But I've been listening to the soundtrack since back then.
Oh, wow.
So I know the music very well, and it's just a vibes movie.
Was there a dance party in your living room when you were watching this? Like,
there
did you get up a
wasn't,
little bit?
but there could have been.
Well, fun pick. It was better and more enjoyable than I thought it would be, and definitely fits our theme of pleasure.
Sure does.
I'm going to another movie that gives us a brief rave scene. I mean, it's only on screen for like 10 minutes, but this is from the Got Milk section of the store, and it's a relatively new release, 2024. And my second pick is Babygirl, which is hard for me because that's inadvertently the name I use for my dog. One of the dogs, and now it just feels very strange to say.
Maybe appropriate?
Yeah. Maybe. Let me give you the back of the box. A high-powered CEO puts her career and family on the line when she begins a torrid affair with her much younger intern. That's it.
Yeah.
Tagline, get exactly what you want. Which I
dislike.
Don't like. Yeah, I have a hard time connecting those dots, but maybe.
Does somebody say that at some point in the movie? I think that might be a line of dialogue.
Possibly, yeah. That might be what's going on here. So this is another movie directed by a woman, Helena Rain, and she's got one movie to her name that people would probably know, and it's Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And Babygirl is an erotic thriller from A24 that centers on a woman's exploration of desire and autonomy. So we get Nicole Kidman again.
Yeah.
Harris Dickinson, who's been on the shelf before with Triangle of Sadness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Antonio Banderas is here, and I think he's phenomenal in this.
Yeah.
The only other name that people might recognize is Sophie Wilde, who plays a character named Esme, who's Nicole Kidman's assistant. How does it fit the theme? So Babygirl places pleasure and how we seek it, understand it, and talk about it front and center. This film examines the orgasm gap and the notion that many women are unfulfilled in their sex lives as a catalyst for the affair that unfolds between Kidman's character and the intern at her company. And that kind of gets to what I like about this. So why did I choose it? On the surface, this comes across as kind of standard fare erotic drama thriller that's maybe trying to surprise us with a substantial age difference between the two main characters and some unexpected kinks on display. But that's not why I picked this. I couldn't care less that the characters are like 30 years apart. I think what fascinates me is that this is the notion of communication, and the way this movie really kind of puts that on display, because we have a main character with a pretty specific desire when it comes to pleasure, and she can't appropriately communicate it with her spouse. I don't think she's even like really communicated with herself about what she really wants sexually. And we also get, another character, an intern, who communicates with her both verbally and sexually in a pretty unexpected way. And I love that. I think that communication is really the thesis of this movie, and it at least encourages me to, and I think viewers, to want to have those conversations about what you want from your partner, specifically as it relates to this topic, which is often a challenging and kind of taboo subject. But it demonstrates why it's important to have.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. I take it you maybe didn't read that from
not entirely. Again, like things in it, I'm like, I don't really get this. I don't really understand why you would do this, or
right.
So I think like that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I think there's some like submission kinks on display here, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that this woman is a CEO and a boss in every other capacity of her life, and probably wants to not feel that way when she's seeking pleasure. But regardless of why she wants what she wants, the fact that she gets it in the way that she does is interesting to me, and very unfortunate in the sense that she can't articulate it before this affair begins, can't talk about it with the guy that she's been married to for like 17 years. And I don't know. I like that. Obviously, healthy communication is fundamental to a good relationship, and this for me showcases what can go wrong when that's missing.
Yeah. Can I ask you about the end of the movie?
Yeah.
Was that the dog from before?
Good question.
Because I'm like, I was like, is this all like corporate espionage? Literally, that's what I thought. I'm like, is that the twist of the movie? Was it like, because like she kind of got blackmailed towards the end.
She did get blackmailed a little bit.
I was like, oh, like they're teaming up. Like this was a plan maybe.
Yeah.
And then he had the dog at the end. I'm like, this is like some Kaiser Soze shit. And they just papered over it, and like, I don't know. I was like, that maybe it wasn't that.
Looking back, I get the sense that shot at the end is in her mind, because it's back in that hotel room, hotel room that he.
I thought it was showing flashback.
Yeah,
he had the dog from before.
Interesting.
Because remember, because at the end of the movie they're like, well, he's in Hong Kong doing blah 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 blah. It's like, oh, okay, maybe this guy was like onto something. Maybe this guy's,
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I felt like the end of the movie was like, oh, is this like something else that,
Quite possibly, yeah. It's funny to me that, she needs to rid herself of this guy and literally like puts him on the other side of the planet. Or just like, I guess, not feel temptation. But yeah, this averages a 2.8 on Letterboxd, and on my first watch I had it at 3 stars, But after a second viewing, it's climbed to 4 for me. I actually think this has something pretty important to say. 14% of users are aligned with my rating. 691 folks have this among their 4 favorites. And I did pick a 4.5-star review by Robert Daniels, who said, "It's been 25 years since Eyes Wide Shut, and Nicole Kidman has once again let her Christmas freak flag fly." Which, this is another Christmas movie.
Again.
Yeah, Christmas again.
Man, your family gatherings around the holidays.
Yeah, there's something. So yeah, Babygirl, my second pick for pleasure.
Okay, all right. I'm going to take us way back to 1983.
What?
The movie is Risky Business.
Oh boy.
This is filed under Safe Bets. Back of the box. Meet Joel Goodson, an industrious, college-bound 17-year-old and a responsible, trustworthy son. However, when his parents go away and leave him home alone in the wealthy Chicago suburbs with the Porsche at his disposal,
Right.
he quickly decides he has been too good for too long and it is time to enjoy himself. After an unfortunate incident with the Porsche, Joel must raise some cash in a risky way.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, two mentions of Porsche
Yeah.
on the back.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of what happens.
Sure.
Tagline: "There's a time for playing it safe and a time for risky business." I mean, yeah, okay, I'll take it.
Sure.
Yeah, you can put
Okay.
that in a commercial.
Yeah.
It works. So this is a coming-of-age sex dramedy with Tom Cruise, Rebecca De Mornay, and Joey Pants
Joey Pants.
about a teenager.
young Joey Pants.
Young Joey Pants. But he's always Joey Pants.
He's always Joey Pants.
It's about a teenager who orders a call girl and when his parents go out of town, which leads to all sorts of escapades and shenanigans, and many of which involve the aforementioned Porsche. This is probably best known as, at least for the scene with Tom Cruise sliding into the frame to Old Time Rock and Roll by Bob Seger. It's a classic, classic moment in movie history. I mean, it's not quite the lift, but like it's pretty good. It's pretty iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually really well executed. Like it's perfect slide.
Oh yeah.
Turn around. Like it's classy. You can see. I mean, that's the moment Tom Cruise became Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say he is Tom Cruise, and I mean, if Stanley Kubrick made him walk through a doorway, how many times? Maybe he just needed to ask Tom Cruise to slide in front of one. So.
Do this to 150 times. So in this movie, pleasure is used as a weapon. It is turned into a business. It's used as a bribe. Tom Cruise is looking for pleasure when he calls Rebecca De Mornay over to his house. And she uses that as a way to rip him off.
Yeah.
Steal some stuff from his house. His house is briefly turned into a brothel for other teenagers.
Yeah.
And then there's like a party for 200 16-year-old boys for like a dozen prostitutes.
Yeah.
So it's like a straight up teenage bang fest that apparently nobody in this town has a problem with. It's just going on. Like it's backed up traffic for like blocks in every direction.
Neighbors are fine with it.
Nobody's having a problem with it. The neighbors haven't noticed.
Yeah.
It's just treated like a normal teenage party.
I know, which is very strange.
Already in movies, normal teenage parties are treated like nobody treats them.
Right.
You know, like 400 people are in the yard and nobody cares. Like, of course, someone's going to do something about it. If this happened in real life, it would be the scandal of the century.
Oh my God.
In any town in the country.
Yes.
Like, what, a teenager had invited 200 people to his house for a gangbang?
All of them were underage.
All of them. Most of the prostitutes, all of the kids.
Yeah.
It's also interesting from a pleasure perspective to watch a young Tom Cruise back when he could experience human pleasure.
I mean, I was even going to mention that when we were talking about Eyes Wide Shut, because that's kind of the last time that we see Tom Cruise in a movie where like sex is part of his character. And this was probably the first time.
Yeah.
And boy, is it weird.
It is weird. It was always weird. But you can see you could see the different path that he could have taken to
for sure.
Human.
Yeah, right.
Human person instead of Tom Cruise, the robot movie star. This is really just Ferris Bueller with call girls.
Kind of, sort of.
Like John Hughes, this came out 3-4 years before Ferris Bueller.
Oh,
John
really?
Hughes, I guess, just made it more family friendly and like less realistic. Because like it's got the car, it's got like the parent. I mean, obviously there's some Home Alone aspects to it too.
Yeah.
But it is like this movie's a little bit more sophisticated than like the teen sex comedy.
Yeah, in that respect, yes, I agree.
Like it's not. It was a little bit. More adult in that sense than I was expecting. I thought it would be more of a goofy sex movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely not that. It's pretty well grounded until the end. It gets a little silly at the end. You know, it kind of turns into a bit of a farce. The party, which is like ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then there's like the cleanup where it's like,
oh my God.
Like how bad must that house smell?
Oh my
like,
God.
Sex and booze and like everybody was smoking.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is a big smoking movie.
Yeah. Everybody was. There's 300 people in this house smoking. It's like, you can't just clean that up in 4 hours.
No.
And then like the bit at the end, which is actually really funny when Joey Pants is selling all of his stuff back, like item by item. It's like, no, that's not how this would go. Joey Pants would show up and be like, "Give me all your money that you made off this last night," and then he would leave. Like they wouldn't go through the rigmarole of like putting it in the truck, taking it out of the truck, going item by item, and like he's going to get every last dollar,
right? Right.
But it is kind of a funny bit. So this is rated 3.4 overall on Letterboxd. 486 people have it in their 4 favorites, and 23% agree with my 4-star rating. Including Haley, who says, "I feel like fuck it should be something you say when you spend $100 on shoes, not when you decide you turn your house into a brothel." Right. Good advice.
Yeah, it is good advice. I saw this late in life. So, makes it sound like I'm dying. I saw this long after it was released, and so I wasn't in that like teen mindset looking for like sex comedies, which I don't even know if this is really trying to appeal to, but it didn't give me what I expected, and.
Yeah, I kind of thought this was my first time seeing it. I thought it was going to be like more of a teen sex comedy. Which it's not. No. It's got some funny moments, and I think there's some moments where they're trying to be funny, and maybe it's not as funny as it wants to be. But when you just take the series of events that occur in this movie and just line them up, it feels like a bit of a first draft to me, to a story that could be tighter and maybe more coherent. Yeah, it's a little shaggy. Yeah, I think the tone is a little weird. Kind of like, because it is kind of a grounded, serious movie. Right. For like half of it. And then the second half is just like, well, we got a fucking brothel for teenagers. And it's kind of wacky. And I don't know, like it doesn't bother me, just because like I like the performances, I like the actors, I like hanging out with all the characters and stuff. Like it's a good time. Yeah. No, it doesn't add up to anything that makes sense. Yeah, I think it requires a little bit of suspension of disbelief regarding things that you talked about, like this party happening and it not being a big thing. But I also wondered a little bit, like what does it really want to be, because there's like a thread about him and this prostitute maybe having a relationship, and I'm not sure if that's what this is a movie about, or is it a movie about him becoming or learning about successful business enterprise. That's I wouldn't be mad at that version of this movie, where he learns how to run the business of this, because like it just happens quick. Yeah. Because like his parents, he's like, well, they're out of town till Saturday, and then like they put together this thing that seems like a well-oiled, like permanent operation. Even to the point where I wrote in my notes, I'm like, is this like an ongoing thing? Like, did they buy a house and start a business? Right. It seems like, have they been doing this for months? Like, no, it's just a one-day thing. Yeah. Because it seemed like he was running the Playboy Mansion. It did. Yeah. And it was like, this happened real quick. Like, I thought I might have missed a scene, you know? So, yeah, I feel like, the tone's a little all over the place. The plot's a little all over the place. But for me, something about it just kind of like, it just feels right.
It's still fun. Yeah. A lot more fun than Ferris fucking Bueller.
Oh, jeez. Here we go. So, I think this is a good look at, like, the 80s ethos of, like, anything's okay as long as you can turn it into a business.
Yeah.
And that includes pleasure.
Right.
So I'm putting it on the staff recommendation shelf this week.
This was fun.
Pleasure.
I'm a big Bob Seger fan, so I love that needle drop.
It's one of the best Bob Seger moments.
It is. It really is. He doesn't have a lot of good movie moments, but this is this is up there. Yeah. Well, fun pick. Glad we went back in time a little bit because we've been in the newer realm. And we're going to kind of stay there with my last pick. This is my final movie is from 2002.
20 plus years ago.
Yeah. It's from the risky business section of the store.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And my final pick is Secretary. So, back of the box. A young woman recently released from a mental hospital gets a job as a secretary to a demanding lawyer, where their employer-employee relationship turns into a sexual, sadomasochistic one. Tagline, assume the position. Which, okay. This is directed by Steven Shainberg and based on a short story by Mary Gateskill.
Okay.
And it's kind of a unconventional love story. We get Maggie Gyllenhaal here. Playing the secretary, delivering kind of a vulnerable yet empowered performance, and James Spader, no stranger to kink on screen, is the emotionally restrained but exacting Mr. Gray. He's the lawyer that Gyllenhaal works for, and we get some deadpan humor here, a little bit of emotional sincerity, and some. We're also challenging some mainstream ideas about control, submission, and what a healthy relationship looks like. But I kind of see this as Secretary being a film about where pleasure is presented as self-discovery. So for Lee, pleasure isn't just sexual. It's about finding, a form of connection that allows her to be seen or feel seen, accepted, and in control of her choices. We do get some BDSM here, not as trauma or pathology, but as kind of a consensual healing practice that offers structure and intimacy and fulfillment.
There's also some cutting early on, which is like pain as pleasure.
Yeah. And that actually gets to one of the reasons that I chose this, but unlike many portrayals of kink, I think Secretary handles the subject with tenderness and a surprisingly earnest tone, which treats Mr. Gray and Gyllenhaal's relationship as kind of evolving and a source of real emotional growth, but I think if your only experience with BDSM is in the form of Christian Grey from the 50 Shades series, this is deserving of your attention. It is about pleasure, I think, in the form of transformation. And to your point, we get a case of the character literally harming herself in the beginning of this movie, and it follows her journey away from self-harm toward acceptance, facilitated by this dynamic that, while unconventional, provides structure, trust, and a little bit of emotional clarity for her.
It's two people who never should have found each other.
But for sure.
It's two people who never should have found anybody, and somehow they found each other. Is a way to look at it.
And they're just right for each other.
Yeah.
This doesn't really wink at the stuff that they're into. It treats it pretty seriously, and but not somberly. Like I think that certainly not poking fun at what these two are into. But I really like Maggie Gyllenhaal.
But it is. I mean, it's funny that like their dynamic is funny.
Yes.
Even when it's not like funny.
Yeah, I think they're both kind of feeling it out and really getting to experience what they're each into fully for the first time. Because he's been through how many secretaries, and
right, which puts a dark cloud over this a little bit.
A little bit,
it's like,
yeah.
Oh, like he's just kind of a monster, and he just happened to find somebody who was into it.
Yeah, there is definitely a point in this movie about 40 minutes from the end where it gets somewhat dark and starts to encroach on like what is consent and does it exist fully in their relationship, which not necessarily a comfortable scene, but deserves to be in here probably. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal, I mean, this is a tough part to play, and she kind of walks the tightrope. But I think what makes this endure is that it's not just about power or sex, but about someone kind of learning how to take ownership over their life and in a way that works best for her. And so I'm fond of this. It does have some at least sexual similarities between what we're seeing in Babygirl, but ultimately the journey for the characters is pretty different, I think.
Yeah, the journey's different, but there's definitely some similar themes. This gets a little surreal at the end, where you can kind of see where it came from a short story in that way.
Yeah. Did that take you out of it at all? The way the last act kind of culminates?
No, because I think because it wasn't taking itself so seriously, it was winking at us a little bit the whole time. So when it got to the end, it's just like kind of this goofy conclusion. You're like, I bought it.
Yeah.
I've seen this before. I think it's a 3-star movie for me. I don't think it quite like got there.
Yeah.
I did like these characters together. Like I like it's enjoyable. Yeah. And it's kind of funny, and like there's some tough moments.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I like the way they interact with the other people outside of their world too.
Yeah, for sure. Jeremy Davies' character is kind of interesting and funny in this. This did $9.3 million worldwide on a $4 million budget, so fairly successful. It averages a 3.5 on Letterboxd. I had this at 3 stars for a while. It recently went up to 4 for me. And 26% of users agree, but I also liked Crash, and, so people's mileage may vary. Weirdly, there are almost 10,000 people that have this on their list of 4 favorites, which seems extraordinarily high compared to what we're used to.
One of the people whose review I read tonight, and I can't remember which movie it was for, but one of their 4 favorite movies was Secretary, and another one was Crash. I wish I remember which one of these it was.
Well, on that note, I had to pluck the 4.5-star review from C.W. Scott, who said, James Spader is the patron saint of weird sex in the 90s and 2000s. So
your boy.
Yeah. I don't understand quite how he landed so many roles like this.
He's
also in Sex,
energy.
Lies, and Videotape, right? Yeah. I mean, he does.
Yeah, he has that feel, which is like, that's his superpower. Right? That was why he was, I don't know, I feel like even when he was playing not the creepy guy in like the 80s and stuff, like he had that creepy energy. It's like, I don't know if you should be alone with that guy.
Right. Yeah. He definitely gives that off.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, Rob, it gives me great pleasure to look at our staff recommendation shelf and see 6 fine picks once again for our theme of pleasure. I think our customers will probably enjoy some of these.
You're going to get so much pleasure.
Yeah. The movies we chose are Eyes Wide Shut, Pleasure, Groove, Babygirl, Risky Business, and Secretary.
If you don't have time to stop into the store, you can always visit us 24 hours a day at rewindvideopod.com. It never closes.
No.
We're on Letterboxd and Blue Sky, or you can email us at rewindvideopod@gmail.com. And don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to, and share the podcast with all your friends who love movies.
The modem on the store computer is humming, so we're ready to receive emails.
Yeah, I can hear it from here.
Right. We are already underway picking movies for our next theme, and I think we're doing something fun with the upcoming episode. We're delving into the alphabet. Do we want to get more specific than that?
I mean, do they need to know anymore?
I don't think so.
Let it be a surprise.
Yeah, I like that. As usual, we'll have 6 movies to recommend, but if you're looking for something in the meantime, feel free to hit us up for a movie to watch. We'll see you next time.
Be kind, recommend. Hail.